Hello guys and welcome back to venera.channel. I'm sorry I wasn't here for a long time. We keep reading the book, so it is sorry. So it's ways of seeing. I don't know whether you like it or not, but I really hope that you do. So it is about art. Yeah. All right. So, um the last video when I was recording a video about this book, we stepped on page number 13, so now page number 14. Okay. The art historian fears such direct judgment, as in so many other pictures by Howells. The penetrating characterizations almost seduce us into believing that we know the personality traits and even the habits of the man and woman portrayed. What is this seduction he writes of? It is nothing less than the paintings working upon us. They work upon us because we accept the way Hals saw his sitters. We do not accept this innocently. We accept it in so far as it corresponds to our observation of people, gestures, faces, institutions. This is possible because we still live in a society of comparable social relations and moral values. And it is precisely this which gives the painting their psychological and social urgency. It is this, not the painter's skills as a seducer, which convinces us that we can know the people portrayed. The author continues. In the case of some critics, the seduction has been a total success. It has, for example, been asserted that the regent in the tip slouch hat, which hardly covers any of his long, lank hair, and whose curiously set eyes do not focus, was shown in a drunken state. This, he suggests, is a libel. He argues that it was a fashion at that time to wear hats on the side of the head. He cites medical opinion to prove that Regen's expression could well be the result of facial paralysis. He insisted that the painting would have been unacceptable to the Regents if one of them had been portrayed drunk. One might go on discussing each of these points for pages. Men in 17th century Holland wore their hats on the side of their heads in order to be thought of as adventurous and pleasure-loving. Heavy drinking was an approved practice, etc. But such a discussion would take us even farther away from the only confrontation which matters and which the author is determined to evade. In this confrontation, the regents and regentesses stare at House, a destitute old painter who has lost his reputation and lives off public charity. He examines them through the eyes of a paper who must nevertheless try to be objective. For example, must try to surmount the way he sees a paper. This is the drama of these paintings, a drama of unforgettable contrast. Mystification has little to do with the vocabulary used. Mystification is a process of explaining away what might otherwise be evident. Hals was the first portrait to paint the new characters and expressions created by capitalism. He did in pictorial terms what Bauhaus did 2 centuries later in literature. Yet the author of the authority's work on these paintings sums up the artist's achievement by referring to Hall's unwavering commitment to his personal vision, which enriches our consciences of our fellow men and heightens our awe for the ever-increasing power of the mighty impulses that enable him to give us a close view of life's vital forces. That is mystification. In order to avoid mystifying the past, which can equally well suffer Marxist mystification, let us now Let us now examine the particular relation which now exists, so far as pictorial images are concerned, between the present and the past. If we can see the present clearly enough, we shall ask the right question of the past. Today we see the art of the past as nobody saw it before. We actually perceive it in a different way. This difference can be illustrated in terms of what was thought of as perspective. The convention of perspective, which is unique to European art and which was first established in the early Renaissance, centers everything on the eye of beholder. It is like a beam from a lighthouse, only instead of light traveling outwards, appearance travel in. The conventions calls those appearance reality. Perspective makes the single eye the center of the visible world. Everything converges onto the eye as a vanishing point of infinity. The visible world is arranged for the spectator, as the universe was once thought to be arranged for God. According to the convention of perspective, there is no visual reciprocity. There is no need for God to situate himself in relation to others. He is himself the situation. The inherent contradiction in perspective was that it structured all images of reality to address a single spectator who, unlike God, could only be in one place at a time. After the invention of the camera, this contradiction gradually became apparent. I am an eye, a mechanical eye. I, the machine, show you a world, the way, I'm sorry, the way only I can see it. I free myself for today and forever from human immobility. I am in constant movement. I approach and pull away from objects. I creep under them. I move alongside a running horse mouth. I fall and rise with the falling and rising bodies. This is I, the machine, maneuvering in the chaotic movements, recording one movement after another in the most complex combinations. Freed from the boundaries of time and space, I coordinate any and all points of the universe, wherever I want them to be. My way leads toward the creation of a fresh perception of the world. Thus, I explain in a new way the world unknown to you. The camera isolated momentary appearances, and in so doing destroyed the idea that images were timeless. Or, to put it another way, the camera showed that the notion of the time passing was inseparable from the experience of the visual, except in paintings. What you saw depended upon where you were when. What you saw was relative to your position in time and space. It was no longer possible to imagine everything converging on the human eye as on the vanishing point of infinity. This is not to say that before the invention of the camera man believed that everyone could see everything, but perspective organized the visual field as though they were indeed the I- ideal. Every drawing or painting that used perspective proposed to the spectator that was unique center of the world. The camera, and more particularly the movie camera, demonstrated that there was no center. The invention of the camera changed the way men saw. The visible came to mean something different to them. This was immediately reflected in painting. For the Impressionists, the visible no longer presented itself to man in order to be seen. On the contrary, the visible, in continual flux, became fugitive. For the Cubist, the visible was no longer what confronted the single eye, but the totality of possible views taken from points all around the object or person being depicted. The invention of the camera also changed the way in which men saw paintings painted long before the camera was invented. Originally, paintings were an integral part of the building for which they were designed. Sometimes in an early Renaissance church or chapel, one has the feeling that the images on the wall are records of the building's entire life, that together they make up the building's memory. So much are they part of the particular of the building. The uniqueness of every painting was once part of the uniqueness of the place where it resides. Sometimes the painting was transportable, but it could never be seen in two places at the same time. When the camera reproduces a painting, it destroys the uniqueness of its image. As a result, its meaning changes, or more exactly, its meaning multiplies and fragments into many meanings. This is vividly illustrated by what happens when a painting is shown on a television screen. The painting enters each viewer's house. There it is surrounded by his wallpaper, his furniture, his mementos. It enters the atmosphere of his family. It becomes their talking point. It lends its meaning to their meaning. At the same time, it enters a million other houses, and each of them is seen in a different context. Because of the camera, the painting now travels to the spectator rather than the spectator to the painting. In its travel, its meaning a diversive. One might argue that all reproductions more or less distort, and that therefore the original painting is still in a sense unique. Here's a reproduction of the Virgin of the Rocks by Leonardo da Vinci. Having seen this reproduction, one can go to the National Gallery to look at the original, and there discover what the reproduction lacks. Alternatively, one can forget about the quality of the reproduction and simply be reminded, when one sees the original, that is a famous painting of which somewhere one has already seen a reproduction. But in either case, the uniqueness of the original now lies in it, being the original of the reproduction. It is no longer what its image shows that strikes one as unique. Its first meaning is no longer to be found in what it says, but in what it is. This new status of the original work is the perfectly rational consequence of the new means of reproduction. But it is at this point that a process of mystification again enters. The meaning of the original work no longer lies in what it uniquely says, but in what it uniquely is. How is its unique existence evaluated and defined in our present culture? It is defined as an object whose value depends upon its rarity. This value is affirmed and gauged by the price it fetches on the market. But because it is nevertheless a work of art, and art is thought to be greater than commerce, its market price is said to be a reflection of its spiritual value. Yet the spiritual value of an object, as distinct from a message or an example, can only be explained in terms of magic or religion. And since in modern society neither of these is a living force, the art object, the work of art, is enveloped in an atmosphere of entirely bogus religiosity. Works of art are discussed and presented as though they were holy relics, relics which are first and foremost evidence of their own survival. The past in which they originated is studied in order to prove their survival genuine. They are declared art when their line of descent can be certified. Before the Virgin of the Rocks, the visitor to the National Gallery would be encouraged by nearly everything he might have heard and read about the painting to feel something like this: I am in front of it. I can see it. This painting by Leonardo is unlike any other in the world. The National Gallery has a real one. If I look at this painting hard enough, I should somehow be able to feel its authenticity. The vision of the rocks by Leonardo da Vinci. It is authentic and therefore it's beautiful. Okay, so I think it's like 10 minutes has passed, so it's like it was the second part of this book. We probably will have much more parts, like five more or something like that. So yeah, I really hope that you like it, but today I also want to record video of another book. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Romeo and Juliet. Well, we'll see, we'll see. But I really want to do that. So okay, guys, thank you for watching. Bye.